Hello, I'm Sarah Muirhead, editor at Feedstuffs, and welcome to this Feedstuffs Fast Chat. Today we're talking with Dr. Paul Yeske, veterinary consultant at Swine Vet Center. Welcome, Paul. Thank you for being with us today.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to be with you.
Well, let's jump right into what we're here to talk about, and that is a new way of thinking about soybean meal, its impact on swine respiratory disease, and specifically PRRS mortality. So, Dr. Yeske, start us off by giving us some perspective around the title of the presentation you gave here recently at the annual AASV meeting, and that was A New Way of Thinking About Soybean Meal.
Sure, be happy to. And as we think about soybean meal, traditionally people have thought of soybean meal as a high quality protein ingredient. And we know that there's other bioactive compounds in soybean meal, the isoflavones, the saponins, and they play roles in the pigs as well to again to help us in controlling swine respiratory disease and PRRS, and to hopefully, as the research continues to move forward, to demonstrate that there is value there.
So, can you give us more specifics on these bioactive compounds and what we should be aware of and what their potential impact is on the immune system?
Sure. The isoflavones probably have the greatest impact. They have an anti-inflammatory action, so they kind of downregulate the immune system to try and reduce some of that impact, which sometimes can be part of the what we see in some of the clinical signs of decreased average daily gain, et cetera. And they also have antiviral effects, so to reduce some of the viral load. They also have antioxidant effects and some estrogenic effects. And so the saponins really function more at the gut level and immune barrier, and keeping additional things from coming in via the intestine into the pig's body.
Now, we are talking about PRRS mortality here. That's a pretty significant issue for the industry. Can you frame that up for us?
Sure. The PRRS season typically starts for us in late October and goes through the winter. Actually, this year we've had a fairly significant PRRS impact, particularly in the wean to finish area. When we look at the swine disease reporting system information, in December, we were the highest since 2018, with nearly 50% of the diagnostics coming into the diagnostic lab being positive. And the Morrison Swine Health Project, which looks at the sow herd, also showed the same thing, that we're seeing more PRRS as we got into that December timeframe, November, December timeframe. And so we know that there's a lot of positive pigs out there today, both on the wean to finish side and coming out of the sow farms today. And so certainly making for a more challenging time within the industry. And certainly I think producers and veterinarians are looking for any tools we can do to reduce some of that impact and to try and allow the pigs to perform better.
So, you've given us a good understanding of soybean bioactive compounds and what they are and what their role is in mitigating respiratory disease. Talk to us a little more specifically about the research that you shared at AASV.
Sure. Yeah, I shared some of Dr. Brooks Smith's work looking at performance in wean to finish pigs all the way from weaning to market, and looking at the overall growth, looking at some of the immune functions, looking at mortality as a whole. And her work in Dr. Dilzer's lab showed that average day in their particular study. Others have shown higher average daily gain, but in their study, there wasn't a big difference on daily gain. There was a little differences on temperature, looking at the white blood cells and some of those concentrations, and neutralizing antibodies were favorable. And as you looked at the mortality, was probably the big takeaway message, with it being nearly half of what the control pigs were. And so a big significant difference in mortality. And she did a nice job of putting it into what's the economic value, and the economic value showing that there was definitely an increase of about, I think she had 30% increase in revenue because of the mortality, And again, anytime we can see those sort of things, that's certainly helping. It may not stop the infection, but hopefully reduce some of that impact.
Yeah, that's really a significant impact. Is that kind of what you were expecting going into that research, or is that even more of an impact, economic impact than what you thought might be?
Yeah, definitely more of an impact than probably expected. And so again, and mortality and culls oftentimes are some of the numbers that we see being impacted there. And so again, probably a little bit better than would be expected, but again, it was a research trial and certainly and a challenge study. So again, they had a significant challenge.
So, what would you say then are the key takeaways for veterinarians and producers when considering nutritional solutions, in SRD management tools?
Yeah, I think the just taking a look at the levels of soybean meal, certainly an opportunity. If there's opportunities to take advantage of that, if you are in a situation where you're dealing with PRRS infection or you're dealing with respiratory disease, and understanding some of these mechanisms, hopefully in the future, some of these products may become available that we can add in on top and maybe get higher concentrations to hopefully get an even better response. But again, this is kind of the early stages, but I think just thinking about it today and working with your nutritionist on how can we utilize these tools in the face of a lot of challenges and headaches.
Very good. Great information. Thank you for joining us today. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for our discussion. For Feedstuffs, I'm Sarah Muirhead.